In a remarkable shift, Special Counsel Jack Smith appears ready to wind down two criminal cases against Donald Trump. Reports indicate that Smith may soon dismiss the criminal prosecution related to Mar-a-Lago document handling, including potential charges under the Espionage Act and obstruction of justice. Simultaneously, the D.C.-based election interference case, presided over by Judge Tanya Chutkan, might also see a similar conclusion. With time closing in before the January inauguration, Jack Smith's goal seems to be a swift and conclusive report to the public, circumventing any chance that a potential Trump administration would suppress the findings. This decisive closure will be challenging not just for the Department of Justice, DOJ, but also for the nation, which has closely followed these high-profile cases. As he nears the end of this legal saga, Smith's path highlights a larger clash at the intersection of law, political pressure, and public accountability, a crucial test for U.S. democracy in this era of political polarization and suspicion. Here's a closer look at what is unfolding, the legal implications, and the potential outcomes of Smith's choices. 1. Smith's strategic withdrawal and the role of transparency. Special Counsel Jack Smith is reportedly wrapping up his investigations and preparing a report expected to be released by January. Merrick Garland, U.S. Attorney General, has hinted that this report will be made public, yet this hinges on the DOJ's decision. A public release, particularly one unredacted or minimally redacted, would clarify for Americans the rationale behind charging or not charging a former president under specific criminal statutes. The case has already seen intense public debate, and transparency will be key to restoring faith in the legal system. Moreover, legal standards require that such reports include a detailed explanation of the decisions. Why were specific charges brought against Trump while others were excluded? For example, while Trump's Mar-a-Lago case involved classified documents, Garland's office recently chose not to prosecute President Biden over similar classified documents found after his vice presidency. Clear, public distinctions must be drawn, and Garland's DOJ has a duty to answer these questions definitively and without delay. 2. The pressure of an incoming administration and DOJ precedents. Garland and the DOJ face significant pressure from both historical precedents and present realities. The lessons of the 2019 Mueller report and its eventual suppression by former Attorney General Bill Barr are fresh. If Trump were to be elected again, there is little reason to believe he would allow an incriminating report against him to remain public, let alone pursue investigations into his own conduct. The DOJ's obligation to act independently should lead Garland to prioritize public release of Smith's findings. The DOJ's rules, as well as special counsel regulations, mandate that critical findings be disclosed. This will avoid a scenario where public faith in the department is shaken by perceptions of political interference. 3. Scope and structure of Smith's report. Given the extensive documentation collected over the past 2 years, Smith's report is expected to be substantial. Taking cues from Robert Hur's recent 300-page report on President Biden's handling of classified documents, Smith's document could provide exhaustive details about the case, capturing evidence, witness testimonies, and legal decisions that shaped the investigation's trajectory. Key aspects likely covered in the report would include charges brought and charges dismissed. The report should clarify why Smith pursued certain charges, particularly in cases such as the Espionage Act violations in the Mar-a-Lago matter and obstruction allegations. Understanding why certain potential charges were foregone will reveal Smith's strategic approach, particularly in cases involving unprecedented executive-level scrutiny. Role of co-conspirators. Smith's report may also explain why certain individuals were listed as unindicted co-conspirators. Figures like Rudy Giuliani, Jeffrey Clark, Sidney Powell, and others hold significant roles in the alleged election interference conspiracy, and the public has a right to know the extent of their involvement, even if they weren't ultimately indicted. Public records and open filings. With the closing of these cases, much of the documentation submitted under seal, likely including grand jury testimony and witness statements, might be disclosed. By default, When the case is closed, so too should the confidentiality of evidence and testimonies. 4. Obstacles in Congress and possible Supreme Court interference. Not everyone will support Smith's full transparency. The House, now under a MAGA-line majority, has shown interest in targeting Smith with investigations. Led by figures like Jim Jordan and Barry Loudermilk, these officials might argue that DOJ's reporting obligations impede Trump's rights or campaign. The incoming House's focus on investigating Smith is well known, and such investigations aim to pressure him and his team to stall or compromise on releasing information publicly. However, Smith's legal backing and independent budget shield him from much of the immediate political pressure. Funds allocated for his office cannot be clawed back easily by Congress, and the DOJ is constitutionally protected to carry out its mission without interference. The more unpredictable factor could be the Supreme Court, where 4 Trump-appointed justices sit. Should Smith's report face legal objections, perhaps on grounds that it infringes upon Trump's transition or administrative powers, this may set the stage for a major judicial showdown. The Supreme Court could ultimately determine the report's public release, risking its own reputation should it side with restricting transparency. 5. Merrick Garland's legacy and duty to the public. Garland must grapple with a formidable challenge, releasing a report that could shape his legacy. He must balance legal prudence with democratic obligations, honoring his prior commitment to transparency. Garland's experience with the politically manipulated release of the Mueller report and his role as head of the DOJ during a pivotal moment for American democracy add unique pressures. Without intervention, Garland may let transparency prevail, allowing Smith's report to be shared with minimal redactions. However, should he falter, he risks a reprise of Barr's selective transparency, a decision that weakened public trust in the DOJ and altered the political landscape. If the DOJ is to regain lost ground, it must ensure Smith's report is not only clear but as public as legally possible. 6. What this means for American democracy. The stakes of Smith's report extend beyond Trump and into the heart of U.S. democracy. Ensuring a fair, transparent process is vital, as this case marks a significant test of presidential accountability. Trump's followers may feel vindicated if charges are dropped, but the report's evidence could still underscore abuses of power, reminding Americans of the need for reform and vigilance in executive office conduct. The potential publication of grand jury findings could expose both ethical breaches and possible criminality, empowering citizens to hold future presidents to a higher standard. Without transparency, democracy risks becoming another casualty of Trump's volatile legacy. The legal standards for government accountability, once disrupted, may take years to restore, and Garland's actions now will play a crucial role in either rebuilding or undermining those standards. Jack Smith's anticipated report is no ordinary document. It represents the culmination of years of investigation and carries the hopes of Americans who demand truth and accountability. His determination to release the findings reflects the duty of the DOJ to provide transparent explanations for its actions. Yet obstacles loom. A MAGA-aligned Congress may seek to obstruct the process, and a Trump-favoring Supreme Court might even rule against publicizing the document. Ultimately, Garland's DOJ holds the power to shine light on Trump's actions and reaffirm American democratic values. The forthcoming battle over transparency will test not just Garland and Smith, but the nation itself. As the public awaits the report, the stakes have never been higher, ensuring that justice, truth, and accountability are upheld in the highest office of the land.